Hey, it's Tim Young in the building. Won't you tell me how you're feeling? Listen, I'm so excited to be here right now, inviting you to Pop Gospel Speaks Radio, our online radio station. I want to take the time to tell you a little bit about us, provide you with our mission and our values, okay? PGS Radio is a listener-supported platform created to inspire worldwide audiences to abide in, connect, and share the gospel. As a diverse community of speakers and artists, we are committed to delivering authentic content that cultivates growth in relationships, purpose, and the Word of God. Our values: PGS Radio values service in providing opportunities for messengers of Christ to have access to larger audiences. It is our aim to present thought-provoking perspectives, real-life experiences, wisdom, and knowledge through music and conversation. If you are interested and want to be a part of us, please contact info@popgospelspeaks.com. That's info@popgospelspeaks.com. And please tune in right now, today. You'll hear something amazing. popgospelspeaks.com. I'm Tim Young, and I'm so happy and excited to see you there.
Hey, come take a walk with me, not like you used to do. Do something different and put yourself in other people's shoes. Open up your mind and open up your eyes and change your direction, change your perspective.
Welcome into Other People's Shoes. As you know, I am your host, Neil Matthews. Thank you so much for joining me this week. Super excited to sit down with our guest coming to us all the way from Florida. That's right, we went out first class. Sponsors are just pouring in. Okay, not really. But maybe after today, maybe they will, because this man that we're going to be sitting with right now is not only excited to be here, but I'm excited to talk to him. In fact, he himself is the host of Time to Shine Today podcast. In fact, he is on a mission. Listen, this is so important. He is on a mission so that no one anywhere would ever feel like they have no one. I don't know about you, that fascinates me already. In fact, his story has been sought out by people in the entertainment business, which he was not really ready to share it until now. In fact, right now is his time to shine today as he shares little nuggets to help individuals and teams level up not only in their business life, but their personal life as well. In fact, this is also fascinating to me. He is a veteran of the United States Navy. In fact, multiple deployments to Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia in the mid to early 90s. In fact, he's also a real estate junkie, an investment junkie. He feels that he just loves key facets to life. And there are so many things about him that are fascinating. In fact, this is one that I really loved the most. He loves to live intentional. He also loves the beach. He loves fitness, yoga, and volunteering. Help me welcome him in from the great state of Florida, Scott Ferguson.
What's going on, Neil? How are you, brother? Thank you so much for having me, man. I'm stoked.
Dude, I love your energy already. Is that okay to say?
Roll, man. Time to shine today. Let's rock.
So first off, we got to thank our good friend, Raina Rose. She was just on with us last week. So if you hadn't had a chance to go listen to that episode, let me tell you right now, go listen to that, opspodcast.com. Great way to go listen to that. She has a fantastic episode. And so I thought it was only fitting, because we talked to her last week, because she introduced you and I together, that we sit with you today. And I thought, just a puzzle piece of things fitting together. So there we are.
Yes.
Isn't that cool?
Sin tastes good, baby. Sin tastes good. That was her book. It's awesome.
That's awesome.
Love
yeah,
that
people need to go check that out too. opspodcast.com. Books that I love. You'll see it right at the top. So, Raina, thank you. If you hear this, we really appreciate you. Right, Scott?
That's right. Love you, Raina. Raina Rose, baby.
So let me help me with this, because sometimes you go by another name, not Scott, right? What is that other name that you like to go by?
Well, I mean, friends call me Fergie. So
are we on that level? That's what I'm wondering. Can I call
absolutely.
you? Can I call you
Come
Fergie
on,
today? Because
absolutely, bro.
Because I feel like you're kind of Fergalicious today.
Fergalicious, so delicious.
I'm happily married, but I want to put that out there.
What's her problem? I'm kidding. I'm just kidding.
That's awesome.
No, I appreciate it, man. No, Fergie's fine, bro.
All right, cool. So I will try not to laugh too much when I say that. So I might slip back into Scott, because even saying Fergie to me, like, again, I'm thinking of her. which, you know.
Black Eyed Peas, baby.
Yeah.
I'm older than her, so you know.
Are
I had
you
it first?
just a little bit?
Well, I'm almost 50, so
Okay. Right.
it's like, yeah, I got her. I think I got her by a few years.
A few years. Okay. So Scott, help me with this question because I love to lead off shows with this question, and it's so fun to ask. So, what size shoes do you wear?
12 wide.
12 wide. Okay. And is there a
Yep,
certain
absolutely.
brand or style that we're rocking these days?
You know what? It's funny you say that. I go as barefoot as possible all the time. Living in South Florida, it's kind of my jam. You know, there's, every single second of every single day, there's 100 lightning bolts that strike the earth every single second of every day. And I want some of that energy that comes through. So I don't wear shoes, but if I am wearing shoes, they're Brooks brand, the Brooks or the Adrenaline or the Hoka brand, just because I have flat butt feet. Like I got some flat feet. I have zero arch. So if I'm going to be doing anything, getting after it, I need to have something that's going to support me.
Gotcha. I have some Vans behind me. Now you can see them. So when I wear the Vans, they hurt my feet because of that reason, because they're flat shoes. And I'm a runner. Well, I used to be. Thank you, COVID, for stealing that from me. But now I'm just trapped inside. I probably need to go run more. And probably the one shoe I haven't worn that you mentioned is Hoka's and Brooks. I've never worn either one, so that's kind of
fun.
Really?
Yeah. Hoka's are awesome. I mean, it's funny. I don't run, but I have a pit bull that likes to walk, so I walk. Probably 3 miles a day. And like we do 3 walks. And one of them is I do a barefoot period just around our lake that we have and around the ocean over here. But the rest of the time I have the Hokas. Generally, Hokas are my go-to for walking shoes. And being a real estate agent here in South Florida, you don't wear suits or anything like that. I'm like overdressed right now for what we wear. So I always am wearing my Brooks because they're awesome just to wear around. They're super comfortable. Shorts, a polo, and some Brooks shoes. Absolutely.
So you talk being South Florida. Is that Miami, South Florida? I mean,
I am 60. I'm 62 miles north of Miami. Tiger Woods lives in Jupiter, Florida. All the PGA golfers, Rory McIlroy, all that McIlroy, all those guys, we all live in kind of the same neighborhoods around here. So it's my version of paradise, that's for sure.
So you're bumping into Tiger like at the mailbox
every day. We see him driving his kids into school or whatnot. It's funny
Tiger?
Around here, bro. It's like he's just another person.
Just another person.
So,
huh? Well, the reason why I asked too is right above me is I have this map of the United States of America, and then just to the right of it, I have a world map kind of spread out, right? And so what I do every time I have somebody on is I always ask them like, "Hey, where you're from?" Because that's important to me because I always like to know where people are from. And it's also just kind of a good icebreaker. But I also put a pin mark for that person. And here's where it gets a little maybe wacky or theological or I don't know. You take it as you will. Yeah. Is I will put a pin mark next to where you're from, right? Okay. The city and all that. And then from time to time, like, in my random thought process, I look up at the map and I might see that pin mark. And I might think, that one time when I was talking to Scott Ferguson.
Oh, I love that.
And then I say
awesome
a little prayer for
man.
Scott. And then I say a little prayer for Scott. And so speaking of Raina, she has one too, but hers is in, like California, not in Florida. Right. So anyway, but I do that.
If you find it on your map, put it right in West Palm Beach.
Okay. That's West Palm Beach.
Right. Yep.
Okay.
Yep, that's where I'm at. Just north of that by like 4 miles.
Okay. Gotcha. I will look for that. So there we are. So awesome. So if I came out to your neck of the woods, again, we're already out there. As I said, we flew first class. It's really awesome. It was a great time. Had some peanuts, had a blanket. It's fun. But if I came out and spent a day with you, what would we go and do together?
We'd be up early. We'd be getting our breathing exercises going. I do the Wim Hof method in the morning. You and I would be doing some planks right after that, some really deep squats. We'll fire off about 10 to 20 burpees. We're going to slam a room temperature distilled water with some apple cider vinegar, some turmeric, some pink Himalayan sea salt, and some lemon juice. We're going to get hydrated. Then we're going to go out. We're going to walk around the beach here. I'm looking at the Atlantic. We're going to walk around there. We're going to get the energy from the day going. And then we're going to come back and we're going to journal, right? And we're going to write down 10 things that we're grateful for. Number one's God always. And then after that, we're going to might do a little work if it's a work day. We might go show some property because my day job is a real estate agent. Might do that, meet some awesome clients, and then in the afternoon, might grab the paddleboard head out on the paddleboard, do a little nature hike. We got it all here in South Florida, man. So, we're definitely going to be outside a lot. We're not going to wear any shoes unless we absolutely have to. And that's what we'll do. We'll have a fun, man. Not only will it feel like you've been maybe through a little bit of a productive day, but you're also going to be relaxing at the same time and feeling great when we go get that fish dinner at Food Shack in the afternoon.
Holy smokes, that is the best breakdown of what we would do in a day in the life of a person that I've had so far. I started throwing that question in because I feel like, as a listener, I really want them to get the essence of who you are. And it's cool to say, like, hey, what shoes you'd wear, what brand, what style. Like, that's good visually to maybe think about those shoes, that brand, that style. But also to have that day in the life of you, I think it helps give me more of an essence of who you are. So I love
it, Neil. That's awesome.
Okay. So we mentioned in your bio that you were in the Navy. And to me, that's near and dear to my heart. My dad's a former Marine. Anytime we needed to go anywhere, I say we, it's really him. But anytime they needed to go anywhere, the Navy was always willing to give them a ride. So that was really cool of you guys. But in that, I'm wondering about this. Because I've heard people say, hey, that military experience, man, I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot it challenged me. It encouraged me. But, man, it was tough. But there are some lessons there that I learned along the way that I still have to this day. And I'm wondering, is there a moment or something that challenged you, that taught you, that you're still using in this moment of today?
Thanks for asking that. Biggest lesson I learned is other people come first. My job, I felt when I was in, and the job that I did, was to keep we call them teammates. And what I did, my teammate alive and keep them, whole. We used to be like, stay whole. Are you whole? Are you whole? Anytime he was hurt, are you whole? So my job, I felt I became a lot more selfless during my time that I learned and know that I guess for lack of a better term, world doesn't revolve around Scott. It revolves around the whole team. And that we're all there together. And it really taught me a lot of collaboration and teamwork. And even though I grew up playing team sports my whole life, everyone was trying to stand out above because you're in front of a crowd. What we did, there was no crowd. We were in and out. We did what we had to do, and we all wanted to come out whole. So it taught me that a really selfless life.
That's awesome. That's really a lesson I feel like can't be just picked up at Costco. An aisle 6.
No,
you can't go down to Walmart and exchange that in for the tires that you got. You want to get some, compassion for other people. Like, can I trade these for that? Like, you can't just get that, right?
Right. Absolutely.
And I just think that's such a valuable thing to learn. Absolutely. I love that. So building on that a little bit, if we can, I'm wondering about this because for me, and I'm just trying to put myself in those Hokas, which is pretty easy to do because you wear a bigger size than I do. But when I heard about you and leveling up and all this stuff, to me, I mean, again, not judging what you do and the work that you do, but I'm thinking, is that even possible? Like leveling up? Like I even Googled it, and this is interesting. So I Googled, what does it mean to level up, right? So this is what Google says. Dr. Google, as my friend Jody likes to say, she says this. Well, Google says this, but she calls Google Dr. Google. Anyway, you followed me on that. So to gain enough points in a computer game to enable a player or character to go up to a higher level, gaining more skills and strength.
I friggin' love you brought that up, bro.
So bring that back to you. How do you level up?
Dude, you're the first one to ever ask me that. And it's so funny that the reason why I say leveling up, it's actually a knock towards my good friends in a sense, but it also means level up your life. So a lot of my friends are gamers. They'll sit around, play games all day. Fergie, sit down, man, play a game. Like, dude, that's stupid. Dude, I'm going to go out and get my paddleboard, bro. I'm going to go get in nature and stuff. Why don't you guys just sit around here and level up?
Okay, so you're winning at Madden, but you're not winning at live,
right?
Maybe, right?
Right. And I mean, there's some people that get paid to game, and that's fine and stuff, and they level up that way. But me, it just came to me on my board one day as like, bro, it's time to level up every aspect of your life from health, wealth, and mindset. So that's what we do at Time to Shine today. And I pushed it out there. It's my signature line. I didn't invent it. It started as a joke, but then I started thinking, man, if I can help people level up in life, and put them with other people, podcasts like yourself, anything that can help them level up, dude. I mean, I made New Year's resolutions, bro. One was to never meet a stranger. Two was to make one person smile every day, and those are the two things that I think that if you can do that, you're leveling up their life and yours at the same time. So that's where the level up came. I'm happy you asked that because it was actually started as a knock against a lot of my buddies. I mean, we're almost 50 years old, dude, and they still sit around and game every day, which is fine, to each their own. But man, I live in South Florida. I got my board and, in my specialized mountain bike, and just kind of do my thing, man. I get out and get where God gave me.
Well, I bring that up, and by the way, that's a fantastic answer. I'm following you on that the whole time. So what it made me think about prior to us, talking today, when I started digging into more of your story and kind of more of who you are, and a lot of that you gave us, so it was very helpful on that. So I appreciate that from a host standpoint. But it made me honestly think back to when I was a kid. So this is like 89. So I was like 9 years old, 89, 90, somewhere in that time frame. And we had just gotten the first Nintendo, right? NES, Nintendo system, right? Mario.
The square
right?
ones?
The square one, right? You had to blow on the game sometimes, which a friend of mine told me recently that it was actually a defect in the cartridge that if you had bent, I think, one of the prongs on the inside, it would have eliminated that problem altogether. I'm like, where were you when I was 9 years old? Anyway, I know, can go all day on that. Because like so many times I'm like trying to put in,
right.
You remember that. Everybody remembers that. But I also remember playing Mario Brothers with my sisters. And I'm going to give my my oldest sister, she's going to punch me when she hears this. And I will take it. I'll gladly take the punishment. Because the way it worked in our house is, you played until you lost your life in the Mario game, in the Mario Brothers game, right? So as soon as you lost your life, it went to the second person, the second player, right? That's how the game works. Right. Anyway, right? So you follow me on that. So my sister was so good at Mario Brothers, she never lost her life. She kept leveling up. And I never got a turn. And I was so, like, it's my show. I can say the word pissed. But I was so pissed off. Like, I'm like, give me a freaking turn. And I probably shouldn't say frickin'. I'm probably going to get letters down from my mom. But I see that because I wonder if there's so many people right now that are sitting on the sidelines waiting for their turn, waiting for that moment to come. That's like, it's great, again, in concept to say, yeah, I need to level up. Yeah, it's kind of a knock on your buddies. But how did you finally hit that mindset, again, on that day on the paddleboard that's like, listen, I need to stop being on the sidelines and I need to get in the game. Help me with that.
Bro, I wake up every day looking at the dude in the mirror, like literally. And I'm just saying, what can I do today to level that guy up? And I used to say level up even before the gaming stuff. It was something that's been in my vocab. You know what I'm saying? So it was like anything that I can beat that dude from yesterday, that's my mindset. I'm not out to beat.
Okay, so can you hear me?
Yep.
That's happened twice, brother. That's happened twice on my Roadcaster. All of a sudden, I just lose all the sound, and then it resets itself. So,
hey, we're recording, right?
We are recording. Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so so go back to what you were saying. I said something about why are we on the sidelines, and then go from there.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I just try to beat that Scott Ferguson that's in the mirror from yesterday every single day. I'm not going to compete against anybody else. I'm not going to compete against any realtors that I compete with or podcasters or anything else. I'm just going to provide and give until it hurts so good, and just that's how I've decided to live my life since the real estate crash of 2009. I mean, that's what I do. And it's about others because I'm going to get mine. I'm open to reciprocation, Neil. You know what I'm saying? I'm not doing things to not get. I'm doing things because I love doing them, but I'm doing things. I do what I love in the service of people that love what I do. You know what I'm saying? So I get to do things for people that I love to do, and I'm going to get mine eventually. And it doesn't have to be monetary, man. It could be, you could reach out and be like, Fergie, man, I'm coming to South Florida for real. Awesome, dude. Let's set Neil up. That's a blessing to me. You know what I'm saying? Let's get him out here. Let's get him set up with a place, get him a rental car. Let's get him, place where he can get out of his lockdown because, we're wide open.
Yeah. Again, I love that idea of it. And you mentioned even growing up playing team sports, right? I mean, that was part of your DNA. That was part of who you are, part of maybe helping define that identity, that inner drive inside of you that clearly that's coming out of you right now. As you can see, there's a jersey hanging behind me that's pretty amazing to me. It's a North Carolina jersey. It's white, and it has the Carolina writing on it.
I see it. Yep.
And on that, I heard somebody say, and I don't know if it was Roy Williams or I don't know if it was a former player, I don't know, but I did hear somebody coming out of the Carolina program say to me, or not to me, but in hearing, I felt like they were saying it to me. You have to be more important than the name on the front of your jersey than the name on the back of your jersey.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Why do you think that is such a good principle for you to have and maybe others to have?
Because it's not about yourself. There's other people that are there that need help, that need to work as a team, to have a congruent process in place to represent. I mean, like, when you're in the military, you're wearing USA, and that's what comes in front of everything else. I'm not going to say I'm a full patriot or anything like that, but I did fight for my country. I did do lots of tours in Afghanistan, Iraq, Somalia, and I did it for that name. So we can live the way we do. I understand there's lockdowns and there's precautions right now, but still it's the best country in the world to me, period. I've been to 36 countries and I've seen bad, real bad. So that's what I think, that it's the name on the front of the jersey is much bigger than the name on the back.
I think that's so crucial to remember. And I think that's hopefully a great takeaway for those to hear and to
Absolutely.
really think about. So you also mentioned in the information that you sent us this intentionality, right? You kind of live this life of being intentional. And I have a very good friend of mine. His name's John Hodge. And John, like, undoubtedly, anytime you're around him, he's going to use the word either A, Jesus, in his conversation, or B, or both, intentional. Like, every time I'm around him, I'm like, John, I know you probably don't like tattoos, but I really feel like you should get, like, intentional, like, somewhere tatted on you, because he just says it so much. And so, for me, when I heard that, I immediately think of my friend John, right? But I also was like, what does intentional mean to Scott Ferguson? What is that? What do you mean by that? Because I know what John means, but what do you mean by that?
One thing I picked up in life, man, is that you do it for the intention, not the attention. You feel me? So, like, I got that from a really good friend of mine, Julian, who we are collaborators. We talk, we coach each other. And, you do it for the intention, not the attention. So the intentions: live intentionally, live purposefully, live, I'm a man of faith, so I live for God, so in Jesus Christ, so Hodge in me are kind of cut from the same sheath. But again, intentional is, and that goes with every part of your life. I wake up every day intentional because I've got to serve my temple to the best of my ability. That's why I'm stretching, planking, breathing. I have to serve this temple so I can use this temple to serve others. And if I don't take care of this temple, it ain't going to be. So I'm living intentionally for myself first thing in the morning. I am selfish when it comes to that. But if you look up the word selfish in the dictionary, Neil, it doesn't mean anything derogatory. It just means you put your agenda before another. It doesn't mean you're effing them over or messing them over or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? It just means that you're taking care of yourself. Now, what you do after you take care of yourself is what's important. That's where the borderline of selfish and selfless comes into the point. Like, I'm very selfish with myself, my health, my eating and all that stuff in the morning, but it all rolls forward to intentionally doing that so I can intentionally help others.
I really like that a lot too, because again, my mindset has always been, if I'm being, if I'm worried about myself, if I'm taking care of self-care. I mean, that seems to be the catchphrase word nowadays, self-care. You have to have self-care, la, 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 with that. But what you're trying to say in that is you have to be, at least for you, you have to be very selfish in that respect. Because again, if you're not taking care of you, right? Or if I'm not taking, I'll take you out of it. If I'm not taking care of me in that equation, first thing, how on earth can I give to someone else if I'm not taking care of myself?
I mean, you look at Michael Jordan, bro. I mean, he's Carolina guy, number 23, went to the Bulls. I hate him because he's with the Bulls because I'm a Pistons guy. I grew up in Detroit, but I love Michael Jordan.
You guys won 2 titles. Stop it.
Yeah. All right. But for real, he got his butt whipped by the Pistons for years until he hired a guy named Tim Grover, who wrote the book Relentless, one of the best books out there. Okay. And he hired Grover. And if he did not do for himself, he would not have been able to do for the team, period. You feel me? So it's like, that's what Michael did. He went and got stronger, so the Jordan rules wouldn't apply to him as much. He could get bumped around in the paint. He could get knocked down. He could get back up and be stronger. He did it for himself to roll over into what he could do for the team.
I think that was the most amazing thing that I learned from the Last Dance documentary.
Yeah.
Was because, as a kid, I don't see the nuances as I do now as an adult, right? And as a kid, I did see Jordan get knocked around, the Pistons beating him, and I'm like, this guy's the greatest player on the planet. Even when I was a kid, I'm like, he's better than Magic. He's better than Bird. He's flying, at least in my mind. He's flying, right? And I think, how is this stupid Isaiah Thomas Pistons team beating them? Like, I was so mad.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even a Bulls fan. I kind of grew up a Blazers fan in L.A., when all my friends were Lakers fan. I like to go against the culture, right? So if everyone else is rooting for the team, I'm going to pick the team that nobody's rooting for,
right?
I.e. Carolina when I live in Oregon, right? I mean, nobody's rooting for Carolina out here.
Right.
But with that, I loved what you said, because and again, going back to it, that Jordan really had to make that mindset shift for you.
Absolutely.
And so building on that again, what was that shift for you to finally say, listen, I'm done. I'm just done.
Well, I mean, it's, I went in the Navy and had a lot of team stuff. And when I retired from the Navy or got out of the Navy, I was back kind of solo again. I didn't really have that to rely on and stuff. So I walked around a lot with a chip on my shoulder, and just basically made money as a vulture, vulture capital. Basically, I prey on other people's misfortunes just to make sure I get mine. I had no one to lean on, no one to rely on. I built my own team under me, and we printed money, we did well, but then we lost everything when the market crashed because I did not listen to my mentors. And I was squatting in a house, literally homeless, squatting in a house with my dog. And then I get a call that my little brother stuck a gun in his mouth and killed himself. So I lost a lot with my life in my thought process and whatnot. And I felt abandoned. And luckily somebody handed me a book by Andy Andrews called The Traveler's Gift. And it's a business parable. Andy Andrews is a Christian comedian, fantastic book. And it just really started applying those principles. So my fork in the road moment, for lack of a better term, was losing everything and then rebuilding it on a platform of giving, God, love, and selflessness, but being selfish first with myself. So that's what happened, man. I lost a lot.
I mean, I'm sad to hear about your brother and his passing.
Yeah,
that's not an easy thing to walk through.
Right.
I would just imagine that's tough stuff for sure. So in those moments, I know you talk about losing it all, and there's probably way more details and a lot of stuff there to unpack. But I've always been wondering about with people in general, and so I'm trying to make it not about people but about you. In that, is there a moment, even in those moments, or maybe an event that you wish you could have done differently that maybe we could dig into a little bit?
A learning experience. I wish I would have listened to mentors that had my best interest in mind. When I was born in the Philippines in 1972 during the Vietnam War. My dad got killed. My mom was Filipino. At the time, they were taking mixed breed male babies away from the mother, the bastard children away from the mother, and shipping them to Spain because Philippines is owned by Spain or controlled by Spain. So I was luckily adopted by a family and then came back to the States. But when that happened, when the whole adoption process was going, the woman who was going to adopt me, her dad died. She goes schizophrenic. So I ended up in an orphanage for a couple of years. So then I ended got picked up by my parents, who I call my parents now. And they got divorced like a year and a half later. And so I bounced around from house to house. So I always had abandonment issues, bro. Always. And I'm not trying to be a victim, but bottom line, I had abandonment issues. And what saved me was the military and having that teamwork. So when I got out of the military, that went away, felt abandoned again. And again, it was all at that point in my life, it was self-inflicted abandonment. Like I looked at it like that. Instead of getting my ass in gear, and asking for help, I went and tried to do it on my own with a chip on my shoulder. So I understand the process. And if I was to do things again, I would probably find the passion I have, make sure it's helping people, and ask for help along the way. That's what I would have done.
I like how you worked in the word ask. That was good. I never heard anybody say that like that
That's
before.
from Leah Woodford. She's got the Smart Femme group, and she says, "Get your asking gear, Fergie." She's always saying that.
That's awesome.
Ask. Don't be afraid to.
Yeah, we had Mark and Crystal Hansen on, and they have an amazing book called Ask. So just kind of made me think about that as well. So
Yeah.
So you mentioned, finally getting adopted, having your parents, what you call your parents now, they end up getting a divorce, you're bouncing around. How old were you when that happened, when they did the divorce and the separation?
4, 5. So it was 1977. I remember my dad taking me to Star Wars and telling me that they're going to split up. But he was a heavy drinker from Vietnam. I love him. He's my best friend now, and he's okay with me telling the story. And we just kind of, they went their separate ways, went drinking. I ended up in different households. So I was about 4 or 5 years old.
So imagine somehow, being that we could somehow get a DeLorean parked outside the house and we could go back to 1977 where you are now, and you could go back in time, and I'd love to go with you just because I'd love to hear your answer to this. What would you tell that 4 or 5-year-old little boy about life?
That it's going to punch you in the mouth, but there's help. That's why I say ask for help. Surround your people with people that are going to soar. Don't try to do it on your own, because there is help out there. You might not feel like it because you've been abandoned, but there is help out there, and don't be afraid to ask for it.
Do you think that 4 or 5-year-old little boy would believe you?
No, he wouldn't. Just because, it was what I went through. I let go of the victimhood a long time ago, Neil, but he would have just been, yeah, whatever. Because there was people that really reached out for help, but I wouldn't trust anybody, So hopefully he would have listened, but I just, I didn't. Even when I was 18, until I got my first drill instructor in my face, I never really listened to anything, So it was like I was very, very driven about me, and again, it wasn't about the team. I had to learn teamwork in the military.
Do you feel like on some level you still suffer from any kind of abandonment issues or anything like that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It'll surface, man. But in my work in progress, my girlfriend, Susan, who's the most amazing woman in the world, will tell you that, I can get a little testy if I don't feel like I'm being heard. Meaning, like, if I say something or ask for something and she doesn't remember it, I'll get a little pissy with her, where I'm like, well, are you not listening to me? And that stems back from that. But then I will catch myself during my journaling the next day and be like, dude, I'll apologize to her and understand that she wasn't doing it on purpose and that I get it. But sometimes it rears its ugly head. But I'm getting a lot better in the past 12 years of understanding and noticing those triggers.
What do you think has been the greatest source of helping you, not get stuck in that moment?
I think that I've surrounded myself with people that adapt and they don't make excuses. Winners make adjustments, losers make excuses. That's harsh, right? But I've surrounded myself with those winners in my life, whether it's through reaching out and talking to them socially on social media, and I'm not trying to go after the Grant Cardones or the Gary Vaynerchuks or Tony Robbins. I'm looking for people that I can soar with eagles and not peck like chickens. So I get out and I'm always getting my ass in gear and just talking and having conversations with people that are going to level me up. And if I have a knowledge nugget of my own that can help them level up, I'm going to drop it on.
So to me, it's fascinating. You live, at least in my mind, for rocking in your shoes, especially for that just little brief moment that you gave us of a day in the life of what we would do with you. You talk about being in real estate. You talk about being kind of a fitness junkie. You're inventing stuff. You got the podcast going on. You could probably really be a motivational speaker on some level if you're not doing that already, which I know you probably kind of are dabbling into that. Some mastermind groups, all of this stuff. And to me, what I'm wondering about is all of that stuff combined. There's got to be just some lessons, some just things that you failed at, some things that you're like, man, what out of all of those, I guess, what has been the greatest source of maybe either bonehead moment or just aha, like I didn't know that, but now I know that, and I won't do that again.
Oh, you know, I mean, I fail every day, on every single day, bro. But I'm a Barry Sanders fan, and he lost as many yards as he gained. To me, he's the best running back ever played the game. To me, not just because I'm a homer, but the numbers. I mean, if he wouldn't have quit, he'd have been light years ahead of Emmett and everybody else. But he always failed forward. Whenever he got hit, he tried to get just an extra foot or two. And that's how I live my life, is that no matter what, I know I'm going to fail. I try to fail. I try to set things up to the point where I have to ask somebody for help. I go so big with the stuff. I mean, I've grown my podcast, and I know I'm tooting my horn, but I've grown my podcast to almost 500,000 listens in 13 months because I am very audacious and I live very audaciously. And I try to find those secret passageways, not shortcuts, but secret passageways of fun. And I don't take life too seriously, man. You're not making it out alive. You know what I'm saying? So I'm very funny. I'm very laid back, but I'm audaciously courageous, and I'm always moving forward, and I know I'm going to fail. So I try to fail. There's no failure that stands out to me, Neil, because I fail every day. I do. I know that I could get 16 burpees and I stopped at 15. That's a fail. But, I got 15 done. You look at the good side of everything, so it's that's how I am. I live audaciously courageous, man. And that's it.
You mentioned that phrase, and you kind of sort of said it, but I really want to make sure it gets really articulated well, because to me, again, this was such a new thought. And I don't know about anybody else listening, if this is a new thought for you or not, but to me it was, don't take life too seriously. You will never, and I really feel like that needed to be bold, maybe, all
never make it out alive, right?
Yeah, you will never make it out alive. Why is that phrase so important to you in what you do and how you operate?
Dude, my mentor said it. He told me to go watch a movie. It was called Van Wilder. And it was with Ryan Reynolds. One of Ryan Reynolds, he plays in Deadpool and all the movies now. One of his first movies. And he said it in the movie. And the mentor's like, tell me one phrase you remember. And that was the one that stuck out. He's like, dude, you can't take life too seriously. You'll never make it out alive. And I said that to him. He's like, that's the story of life. Now, if I'm representing a client or I'm doing a podcast interview with somebody, I'm pulling the best out of them. I'm helping my client. I'm very serious. But bro, if you come to South Florida and we go out, I am the biggest goofball that you'll ever meet. I love to have fun because you ain't getting this time back, bro. This commodity of time's gone. So I'm going to live in, and I'm not an act. I'm not an imposter, dude. People come out and they're like, my girl sometimes I think gets sick of it just because, I'll smack her butt. You know what I'm saying? Or just mess with her and call her stinky, and I'm stinky, and I have fun. I'm not being mean to people ever, because I'll draw that line. I'm not going to hurt anybody, and I'm not self-deprecating either. But I just like to have fun. And that's it, man. I mean, you have to be happy, Neil, bottom line, bro. And, people have to understand that even when they're going through some of their failures in life, that it's finite. It's going to end, period. That is going to end. But so is, if you're I'm like, Neil, come out here, bro. Why don't you spend 3 days with me on the beach and we'll hang out and whatever and just unwind and stuff. And you're happy. But guess what? You're going to get on that plane one day and go back to Portland. It's going to end. The happiness is going to end, right? So what I encourage the people that I coach and everybody else in my squad is to overlap your happiness. Find stuff every millisecond of every day that's going to make you happy and do it, because everything's finite. The bad things are finite. The good things are finite. But overlapping your happiness, bro, that's where life is found. It's lived. The energy is there. That's how I live, period.
So I think it would be amiss if we didn't give you some moments to talk about the podcast, because as a fellow, podcast host, it is one of my favorite topics. There's really 4 topics in my life that I love to talk about. I love to talk about my relationship with Jesus. I really do. What he's done for me and the amazing work that he's done in my life. And I can't breathe in this moment without him. Right. The other thing I love to talk about, even though I get in trouble and it costs me money, but I love to talk about my wife. I love to talk about how beautiful she is. How we met in high school. I love to tell that story of how we met. My daughter always rolls her eyes, but I love talking about her baby moments in life. She's 13 now, so those baby moments are kind of gone. And even this morning in the kitchen, she was eye-rolling me and, telling me, are you going to pick me up from school, Dad? I'm like, we live a half a mile from the school. You can walk. It's fine.
You can walk.
You're going to be okay. And I love to talk Carolina hoops. Those are the 4 things. If you want to talk to me, those are the 4 things I love to talk about.
Right.
And really, it's also podcasting. So somewhere in there, podcasting fit in. But I'm wondering about you. You know, as a podcast host, you mentioned the success that you've had, which, by the way, those that don't know, that's very successful. At least in my mind, that's a very successful show.
It's a good start, that's for sure. Absolutely.
Stop it. It's amazing. Great numbers. So what I'm wondering, out of everyone that you've had, because you put out easily, 150 now? I think you're up to maybe 2?
185.
185. Okay, I thought you were almost 2. Well, I thought you were anyway, I thought you were 150 to 200. Anyway.
Yep.
You obviously have sat with some amazing people. Who's one person in particular, maybe there's a couple, that you really learned something from that you didn't know going in?
Berta Medina, learned a ton from her, and I think she's amazing. She has a Dreamers Succeed podcast. I learned a ton from Amelia Antonetti. Amelia Antonetti is the person who brought to market the Listerine strips to give you good breath, and her story behind how she did that is amazing. I mean, she's really good friends with Oprah Winfrey, Steve Harvey, a lot of different people. And she's put me in touch with just everything from getting my show on XM radio to getting just leveling up across the board. So those two ladies have really leveled up. And I mean, there's also like Randy Gage that's came on. He wrote a bunch of books, best-selling author, Bob Berg, So I've had a lot of people that have came on and blessed that have taken me into and introduced me to people like you when I have you on, next month. So it's a blessing. The podcast is awesome. It's a awesome platform to be able to get my message of leveling up. And our motto is we don't want to have anyone to feel like they have no one. And that comes straight from my, abandonment issues all the way through. So, we spend a lot of money on marketing to get people to tune in, and also on our coaching programs. And I interview mostly coaches and people that help people level up, consultants, other podcasters like yourself. And then I put together the people that answer our marketing with the podcaster or the interviews that I do, and I set it up on an affiliate platform. So I give until it hurts so good. But I also have them coming into our coaching family, and I put them with a coach that I've interviewed, and then I make money as an affiliate by referring the business to the coach. So last year we did $180,000 in affiliate commissions, so I made 10% of that. So my podcast did pretty darn good for a first year. Not to mention, I'm sponsored by a few $100 an episode. So I'm able to do a lot of things for the people that I interview, get them exposure and whatnot. But I'm also getting men. Like I said at the beginning of this interview, I'm open for reciprocation also, period. But I'm going to not get there unless I'm give until it hurts so good.
No, I love that. And I think that's a mentality that I definitely would love to get from you, is that same type of mindset. I'd love to get to that. I'm just being awesome here. I'd love to get to that level, right, where I'm leveled up enough that I have that same mindset of just giving till it hurts. I think there's so much power in being generous and having that generosity spirit. I just think that's so great. Yeah. And I do really love to give. I love to give my time. I will give anybody I know a North Carolina hat. I don't care. I'll do it. Like I will. Like I don't mind. I did it in Mexico a number of years back. So awesome. So Scott, how can people go and listen to the show and get connected with you if they're hearing some stuff right now and they're like, oh my goodness, like where's this guy been my whole life? Like I don't know why, but all of a sudden right now I feel like I need to go run a marathon. I need to, give to the homeless shelter. I need to level up. How can people get in touch with you maybe for their moment to time to shine with you?
Right now, our website is timetoshinetoday.com/podcast is what I would do. The regular website just is an affiliate platform to teach you how to make money online and stuff like that. But to really get leveled up from other people that are out there helping people get leveled up, I would just go to timetoshinetoday.com/podcast. And that's the best way. And of course, all podcast directories from Apple to Google Play to all of them, Overcast, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Spotify, we're Time to Shine Today.
That's awesome. And
and make sure you add today to it, because if not, you're going to get the Time to Shine podcast, and they haven't put a show out in, I don't know, a year or so. So
did you borrow someone's name?
No, I own timetosshine.com, and then I let the URL expire, and then somebody else picked it up.
Oh.
And so there's that, which is fine. I like today. Today is
I like today as well.
It's
really
in the
do.
moment, baby.
I
You know
like
what
that
I'm
from
saying?
a
It's
standpoint
right now.
of today.
Mindfulness. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. What are we going to do today? We don't have tomorrow. We really,
No.
yesterday's gone. We only have today. So
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's good stuff there. So if you're interested, go check that out. If you're not sure what he said, because again, you're probably, who knows what you're doing right now. I don't know. Maybe you're in your car. Maybe you're listening to some, Naughty by Nature. I don't know. Do you even listen to that?
OPP, yeah, you
shouldn't
know
be.
me.
You shouldn't be. I'm just saying. But if you are, don't worry. We got you covered. It is in the show notes. And so just check those out. And we will have all of Scott's information there. I just want to say, man, before we go into our last little thing that we do here, you're fantastic. And I just want to say thank you again for what you gave me prior to the show. We met a little bit, did a little interaction. You've just been a great resource as far as seeing stuff come through with you, of borrowing some ideas from me. I'm not borrowing. I'm borrowing your ideas is how I meant to say that. Not that you're borrowing from me, because I don't think anybody, I don't know. Well, anyway.
Come on, there's a lot you offer, man. Look at this. This is an amazing show. Are you kidding me? This is awesome.
Well, I appreciate
love
that.
the name. Other people's shoes. That's amazing.
Thank you. Hopefully you had a good time today. So anyway.
It is blast. Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
So here's our game. We like to play a game at the end of our show. It's called Senseless. Now, I'm going to put you on the spot here. You do know, being a fitness enthusiast, I'm sure you know this, but we have 5 senses, right? You're fully aware of that?
Yes.
Okay.
And luckily, blessed with God, I have them all.
Just checking. Good. And that's awesome. So we play this game at the end of our show. It's called Senseless. And I'm going to just, it would only be appropriate, right, to have a North Carolina Cup to roll in. So I'm going to roll a die here. And because you're in South Florida, not in Oregon. And here we go. So you got this number here. And so I'm showing you only because I want you to try to read that if you can.
2. Deuce.
All right, awesome.
Yep.
And by the way, I got these for Christmas. Look at that. It's a North Carolina die. Aw,
That's awesome.
So fun. Thank you to my sister Angel, my other sister, who was nice to me and sometimes would let me play the video game, unlike my mean sister.
You want me to send you some Blue Devils stuff or no? No. He's like, hang up.
I'm sorry, Scott. You didn't come through there. It sounded like you were swearing, and now I'm going to have to mark this episode explicit. But number 2... Getting off track here. Number 2 question is this in our game, Senseless. Who is touching your life right now?
Right now, I would say that, obviously God daily and every minute, he's omnipresent. But I would say that right now, I have my core support group. We're all Christian. But we're all growing different businesses, and we made it through COVID, and all of us thrived. And so my support group there's 6 other gentlemen and 1 lady, and I'd say that support group is who's touching me right now.
That's fantastic. And how are they supporting you so well, in your opinion?
Well, they know that they see gifts in me sometimes that I don't realize that I have. And they bring them up. I never get down on myself. I'm like, dude, I'll come back from this, but I'll start doubting the process. And that's what I run by them. And they'll be like, they'll help me tweak the process, if you will, and help it work out. That's what's awesome about having that mastermind group, period. And I'm blessed to be able to help them out, So absolutely.
So I'm sure you've been at least near maybe this area of Miami, Florida area. This little stadium down there, Hard Rock Stadium. You've been there a few times?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
so by the way, do you know the seating capacity without Googling it? Do you know the seating capacity of the stadium roughly?
Maybe 55,000. I couldn't tell you.
That's okay. 65,326 according to Google.
It's a great stadium. Love
Is it? Carolina played
Yeah.
there earlier this year and laid down to Texas A&M, so we don't need to talk about that. But I will say this. If somehow we got this just mixed bag of folks, right?
Mm-hmm.
All walks of life, young, old, maybe teenagers to, we'll say, I don't know, 65-ish people.
Right.
Yeah, an age range. You're at the 50-yard line. I hand you the microphone, and I say, Scott, here's your moment. Here's your time to shine. I love that phrase, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Here's your time to shine. What are you going to say to these people as we end today's show?
I'm going to remind them that inch by inch, it's a cinch. By the yard, it's hard. No matter what you're going to do, bite it off piece by piece, inch by inch. It's a cinch. By the yard, it's hard. And I would say, do it scared. So 2 things that I would say. That's it. Because that's how I live my life, period. And I think that's how everybody should. Do it scared and just understand there's a process to everything, and then get your asking gear for that process.
I love that so much. I really do. That was good stuff. I expected a little longer, but you're good. It's fine.
No, I don't. I'm short, man. It's like wordy stuff doesn't work for me. I guess when I tell my backstory, I get wordy, but other than that, man, I'm boom. It's just, that's how I am. And it comes from the military, the discipline of being efficient and quick. What did John Wooden say? Be fast, but don't hurry. You know what I'm saying? It's like, right. That's what he used to say, So, yeah, that's what I would say. I mean, there's 3 kind of credos that I live by that, do it scared, inch by inch, it's a cinch, and don't take life too seriously. You'll never make it out alive. Gotta have fun, Neil. That's what everything's about.
That's awesome, man. I appreciate it. Thanks again for your time today. I really appreciate this, man.
Appreciate you, man.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
I just want to tell you, I'm glad Raina Rose introduced us. So, guys, if you are interested in hearing more about what Scott is all about and more about him and his time to shine today, I highly recommend you go check out what he's doing. Check out our show notes right now. And so here's my question for you as we end today's show, and that's this. How on earth are you going to level up in your life? Like, why are you still stuck sitting watching everyone else play the game, like I alluded to with my mean sister playing the Nintendo? How are you going to finally say, no, you know what? It's my turn, and take the control of your life to say, I'm going to warp up to a higher level. And I'm not talking philosophical, pie in the sky, hippy dippy. Some people are already tuned out on that. No, what I'm talking about is this is your moment.
Right.
Unpause the game and get into the game and level up. EA Sports made it famous. It's in the game.
True. It's in the game.
I'm not saying don't play the game. I'm saying get into the game. And so right now, if you're hearing this and you're like, you know what? The month of madness is almost over. It's time to get into the game. It's time to get so mad at yourself that you finally make that change. And I just want to challenge you on that today to go make that change for yourself. Again, Scott has some great information and some great resources to check out. And of course, I just want to remind you of this as we end. Remember, when you walk in other people's shoes, you really do get a different perspective on life. I want to thank you again so much for joining us today, and stay tuned till next week when we walk in other people's shoes. Thank you so much for joining us on Other People's Shoes. As you know, I am your host, Neil Matthews. Thank you so much for joining us today. So excited that we got an opportunity to sit down with Scott Ferguson. So again, if you are interested in knowing more about what Scott is all about, I totally recommend go check out our show notes. Right now, it has all of Scott's information down there below in the lovely show notes. And of course, we would love for you to connect with him on what he is doing. Speaking of connecting with people, super excited about next week's guest. In fact, here's a little sneak peek of next week's episode.
Somebody once said to me, the past is my past, and if they don't get to talk about it anymore because Jesus has redeemed my past, then I don't get to talk about it anymore. So I want to remember that my job that God has given me is to point Braden towards Jesus and constantly remind him that he was a gift to me, that maybe not in that moment, that was out of my sin and out of my rebellion that I got him, but that he was a gift. And
that is right. We're going to be sitting down with, I think she's a good friend of mine. She could be more of a friend of my wife's. I guess you'll just have to stay tuned to find out. But next week's guest, her name is Nicole. She has an amazing story. In fact, we're calling it The Treasure. So if you want to know more about The Treasure, you probably want to stay tuned until next week. That, of course, opspodcast.com is a great place to come back next week, or even each and every week, to check out our latest episode right at the top of the page. You can't miss it. Light blue player. You just click on that. Amazing things happen. You get to hear the episode. Pretty cool, right? So speaking of pretty cool things, we, of course, would love to connect with you. That, of course, being on our connections page at opspodcast.com. Again, just click on connections. Drop me a little note there. Tell me what you love, what you hate, what you really are enjoying about the show. Of course, would love to connect with you there. And if you'd like to do it another way, maybe a virtual way, well, here's another way you can do that as well. Virtual voicemail, pretty cool thing too. You can actually leave a voicemail straight from the website as well, opspodcast.com. And of course, you can always do the old school way, right? The Facebook, the Instagram, the Twitter. We, of course, are there as well. OPS Podcast Show. A little different than our website. So, again, OPS Podcast Show on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And we do post daily. So, check out what we're doing over there. We'd love for you to be a part of that. And, of course, just remember this. Remember, when you walk in other people's shoes, you really do get a different perspective on life. Join me right back here next week, again, as we walk in other people's shoes.